Of course, let me remove the one thing. Because I don't want all of the. All right, go ahead.
We'll call the June 9th, 2025 Triton School Board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recognition of visitors, open forum.
Do not have a request.
Okay, moving on. Approve agenda.
Second.
Motion by Lloyd, second by Brian. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Cobra Pride.
Seeing as how this is my last one, I just wanted to recognize Triton. I think that, we have an amazing district. And I'm very honored to have worked here, and I think that, every year we get better, and it's just a great organization, and I, want to recognize everybody that's part of this, the board, the staff, the students. We have a great system, and it's worth recognizing. So that's my Cobra Pride.
Number 6, approve consent agenda. Second. Motion by Jim, second by Rebecca. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. New business. 7.1, discuss approve insurance.
Pete's here to kind of share some information.
So everyone's got a handout, spreadsheets following. We ran a few different options this year. And I know. I think everybody knows that insurance is, it's gone out, and it's continually changing, and. What we found is there's really no silver bullet. You're either gonna have a lower deductible or a lower premium and a lot higher deductible. A little higher lower deductible, higher premium. So I compared the three companies that we quoted on this sheet. The first one is who we're currently with, which is EMC. And then we got a quote from Liberty Mutual and Church Mutual. And then I compared that to last year's EMC. This year's EMC versus last year is about 16,000 higher. And then below that is the work comp, and work comp is up about 5,200, so a total increase of about 21,640 if you stay with EMC. My personal opinion is, unless you're really going after a $5,000 all other peril deductible, Church Mutual probably wouldn't be a great option. And what the all other peril deductible means is what most insurance companies, especially on the commercial side, which schools consider commercial insurance. What they've done is they've started breaking out deductibles. So they'll give you a separate wind hail deductible, so if it's a wind hail loss, you pay one amount. And then we call the others all other perils, you pay a different amount. You look down, Liberty and Church Mutual both have a 1% wind hail deductible, and that's comes with a minimum $100,000. But if they kick in the 1% option, that goes out the value of the building. So the school itself is insured for right around 69, so you could be still at $600,000 wind hail deductible if you run with one of those options. So if you look over on EMC where they have a $75,000 wind hail deductible, that looks high. But when you actually do the math on a 1%, it's not that high. To offset that, there's companies that have come out and they want to study their policy to buy down your deductible. So I did quote a couple of those. If you wanted to take the EMC deductible down from 75,000 to essentially 10,000. That policy is about $5,300. Last year you guys chose not to do that. And then you can see what the premiums would be if you chose to buy down to 1% option. It's about $60,000. I just put those in there so you can see them. There's not a lot of people doing the buying down to 1%. It would really be, well, if you go back up to Liberty and Church Mutual, you can see there too, they also didn't offer cyber coverage quote, which EMC does. So if you wanted to consider one of those options, we have to go out and find a standalone cyber coverage quote. EMC still, when it comes to schools, is still kind of a Cadillac option. They include a bunch of extra companies. Offer more products than other carriers. They're all around the more experienced, right, schools. So. It would really be if you guys wanted to look for, like I said, the lower premium and the higher deductible, or they were at. Even with that. Higher premium. You can see on the Liberty too, they're all federal deductibles also. The fair guys are coming with great news, right? What we have seen some people do, I don't know if this is an option for you, is actually take out like a little line of credit, cover their deductibles. That's what you use it for. If you don't have the cash to pay for your smaller deductible up front, or say you did have to pay the 75,000. You can be paying it, making the payments on it after the fact, instead of doing a deductible buy down and making payments up front. Actually, in my opinion, might be better, because if you don't utilize, if you don't have a loss, you're not gonna make that.
How often are there losses? I mean, it's a brick building. I mean, wind and hail, I mean, isn't going right, did it do much?
No, what you see on your window, so this policy also covers like the bus bar and all that. What you see more of your losses coming out is like you roof.
Oh. Is there rock up there, or is it just rubber?
Just rolling up, just rubber. My opinion would be to stay with EMC, because they're very more experienced by the company.
It sucks that it's going up, but the flip side is. When you start to look at a 1% wind hail, that could be 600,000 deductible, that's. It's gonna be crippling. Yeah, we could take out a line of credit to pay for it, but. Wow. And I think it's. Right now, I think cyber coverage is important. I just. There are schools that are getting hit, and
What is that? Like if they hack into the computer system or something?
then they can hold you ransom.
Oh.
So it covers a number of things. I have a lot of faith in our. Tech folks, with Damon and the things that he's done to help prevent that, but. Schools are targets. Unfortunately, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of private data. And that's ultimately what people are after. So I think it's good to have that cyber coverage.
Yeah, you don't want to go without that, so even if you have one of the other two options, you're looking to be a standalone. It could be, and $10,000 for a standalone company.
Now, Pete, can you remind me, I think we talked last year a little bit about if we were to switch coverage, the feasibility of getting back in with EMC down the road. Did we discuss that might be an issue too?
Coverage, and EMC is actually working on that, trying to stay on. So because of longevity, because of loss history, because of what you guys are doing with the annual road inspection, and how much we're doing. We got them to stay on. So there is building longevity and a relationship with a company, the insurance firm does what's involved.
I move to include insurance coverage by EMC.
Second.
It's a motion by Jim and a second by Lloyd to continue coverage with EMC. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I can,
Opposed?
It would just be figuring out if you wanna do the buy down option.
Discuss that, please.
It's only gonna be an issue if you have a loss in the sales or bought that. And not pushing either way down, it's whatever it's not.
You did not do it.
And
Actually, to not do it.
honestly, the cost savings almost equals exactly what that deductible would be anyway. Right? You
So
did
the,
well.
so the.
Is that the yearly premium?
That buy down deductible will buy you, your
Is-
retail premium down from 75,000 to 10,000.
Okay, and that's the yearly cost for it?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And that you
I
can,
was thinking.
you can talk about it, decide.
Okay.
Issue, but.
Okay.
That would be based on your comfort level.
the last 5 years, has there been any, would we have benefited from that, from having that buy down?
With one wind loss. Or that be one, not bill or anything, but then. But. You have one that would. You figure it out, yeah, so EMC forced everyone to raise the deductibles. I think when deductible before was what, 10,000?
Mhm.
But that was still a couple of years, I think, for, last year was 75,000 too. So, you don't have to make a decision right now, it's, maybe just talk going for the moment, and also you think it's a good thing. And kind of put it as options. We know you're not fully stuck with them. 75,000 deductible. Well, we will review the EMC coverage as it is, and then I'll be doing.
Thank you.
I want to town board meeting.
7.2, discuss approve FFA officer overnight retreat to Harvest Farm Campground in Cresco, Iowa, July 29th through 31st, 2025.
It'll just be their yearly officer retreat.
Mhm.
And that's where they've gone the last couple of years. That's worked out well.
Second.
Motion by Lloyd, second by Dale. Any discussion? All in favor of 7.2? Opposed? Motion carries. 7.3, discuss approved preliminary budget for 2025-2026. Ms. Lake.
Just go over some of the major points for the budget. So right now we've got, budgeted at 9.7 for enrollments, kindergarten is actually up. Quite a bit this year, but we're looking at 70. Think, be conservative and go for 70 or 65, excuse me. We are going to. Kind of really keep a close eye on this in month by month. So between this and the fact that legislature has not figured out everything yet. It wouldn't be surprising, if we might be coming to you with a revised budget in the fall instead of January, February. So. It's just kind of the way things are this year, unfortunately.
Right.
So, but actually, this is a good thing, enrollment being up.
Yeah.
So looking at the revenue side as far as general fund, so we know we're getting 2.74% in the new state aid formula. So overall, state aid's up, 600, almost just under 646,000. Obviously based on enrollment increase, we are getting an increase in basic skills and the English learner aid, which is great because, looking at my other districts, they're all actually getting pretty significant decreases, so. That's huge, that's really great. And then we all are also getting a small bump in student support personnel aid, probably not a lot, but it's probably about 44,000 or so. At this point, we're not getting any extra funding for REACT. They are, sounds like the library aid funding that we got for biennium, this past biennium was, they're not gonna renew that one. We haven't got a clear line yet on what will be funded for the summer plans after the current funding runs out. I think they're doing another bump this summer to cover things, but
Without that bump, it wouldn't cover
it
it
would
this year.
cover, yeah. So we're hoping this summer will be covered, but we'll see. We are getting, you know, so we were using our lease levy aid, to pay for a portion of what was left in the middle school. Project, and that's done. So now we can use all of our lease levy to pay for the said building, instead of taking some of it out of our general fund pot, which is great. And then we actually did get a decent bump in our operating capital in long-term facilities funding, so that helps as well, and build those back up a little bit.
So the middle school's paid for.
It is paid for. Yes,
Just a question about support personnel aid, what's the scope of that in terms of like, what would that cover?
so the first 2 years, of the biennium, they each district got 40,000. And it's very specific, it can cover a licensed school social worker or licensed school nurse, things like that, so it has to be specific for those positions. I think the idea was to bring those kind of people into the districts that needed them. Basically, yeah. It's
So
not always-
primarily for
Yes,
those two type positions.
essentially, yeah, yeah. So, very, very specific, but. But yeah, so what's happening in this next year is that, any districts, I think we're gonna only go over like 600 or 700. They're getting a bump for people, so. Like if you're under that, you're still gonna get 40,000, if you're over that, you're gonna get. An additional 40 amount, so. We'll get a little bump for that, obviously it doesn't cover everything, but it helps, for sure. Just a little update on the expense side of the operating fund. So overall, we are still looking at an increase in expenses of about, just over 114,000. Salary and benefits are down to 27, so that includes, the plan reductions. We do have to budget for an additional 35,000 to cover the new, paid family medical leave act that will go into effect in January. So basically, we have to cover. It'll be 88% of salaries. So at this point, the district is responsible for covering half of that. So that's what that 35,000 is.
And staff will actually see a reduction in their paycheck too.
Well,
They probably don't know about that yet, but they'll figure it out.
there's that. The one, this is, TRI, that was one that came into play last week, I just found out about, that was fun. So this year, TRI district portion is 8.75%. We be told forever that next year was gonna be 9.5%. But with the pension bill that just got passed, they raised that, so they actually raised it to 9.8%. So we had a budget an additional percentage to cover the district portion together.
That's a great example of an unfunded mandate.
So what's the net difference between expenses from last year to this year?
It increased of about 100, just on 114,000 total. So. Yeah, so even, one time we have to make it still. Everything kind of goes up,
So we're net positive by a lot.
a little bit, yeah. And then, I just estimated about 10% increase for special educations, contracted services, so that's essentially the Z cost. And I'm assuming, ALC is dependent on. Student enrollment, but that cost will probably go up as well, because it kind of has financial, so. So just looking at the actual numbers for the general fund. So here at the top, here are overall totals. Revenue of 13.7 million, expenses of 13.1. So we're looking at a net change, from July to the end of June of about $543,000 increase. So this is going in the right direction. This is kind of what we plan to do, or hope to do. And so looking at just the unassigned, which is our big one, we want to kind of have that reserve in there as much as possible. Looking at ending this year at about 0.74% fund balance. But with the adjustments we were able to make and with the revenue that we know of, upping that fund balance to just over 4%. So we're looking at a net change of 400, just so you understand.
Is that the increase from the last slide of 100 plus?
Mhm.
Is that just distributed across some of these areas, or is
It
it
is.
dropped in a operating or general fund, or?
Yeah, it's across all of these areas, so this is, This goes for. And that was an increase of, from last year, or from 24-25. So what we do is we wanna maximize, all of these funds as much as we can, they're all of our reserve accounts that are pretty specific on what we can use them for. But what we like to do is maximize, for instance, learning and development, gifted and talented, basic skills, safe schools. Medical assistance, we've been using that more. It's very specific for, high need special education students who have medical needs. So we can use that a little bit more for those kind of things. And student support personnel that we talked about. There is the incentive aid, so that actually is not new. It's been part of a formula forever, but they decided they can't get restricted. It used to be up to unassigned. And now it's more specific.
And that's one of the things most of the education groups are trying to push is for more freedom in how we allocate the money from these funds, because
Yeah.
when they give you money and they say it can only be spent on this, you know, a great example is, it's not on every next slide, it's on, yeah, want to go to the next one?
Well, any questions on this one, first of all? We're gonna point out really quick, so like I mentioned earlier that we were getting additional long-term facility and operating capital. So we're actually, we kind of spent those down over the last few years, and now we're able to kind of start building them up, so we've got both that funding at hand for the second month. That's important. Hopefully they keep going in that direction. Yeah, that's the goal. So yeah, so what we're talking about as far as what we can use these funds for, so food service. So we're starting to do like a $360,000 fund. NDE is very restricted on those funds, and pre-COVID, they would look at like 3 months of operating expenses. If your fund balance was over 3 months of operating expenses, you would get a letter. And they would wanna know what's your fund spend that money down. So during COVID, they kind of put it all down, because everything was going on. And that's going back into effect next January, but they did up it at least to 6 months. I think because they know we're all here, like
Now that everybody's getting reimbursed for lunches, everybody's fund balance is going up, and now they're, one of the things they've talked about is being less restrictive on what you, because you can use it to buy lunch tables now, believe it or not.
Yeah.
After we bought ours, but it would be nice to be able to take some of that and allocate it somewhere else, if there was some flexibility to do that, but again, that's one of the things that's very frustrating with the way the state funds schools is. It's allocated and has to be used for certain things. And food service is a great one because most schools are seeing
Yeah, everybody's got.
a good fund balance right now in their food service because all of the lunches are being reimbursed. A few years ago, we were talking about, how do we pay off how do we reimburse ourselves for the students that are eating lunch and then having a debt? Because now we get automatically reimbursed for those, but now we have a positive fund balance and again, we're not able to use it for what we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's so specific, like, so for instance, this year we put in a dishwasher in the kitchen and it requires some plumbing too. This will cover the dishwasher, but not the plumbing. So it's very frustrating, it's in the kitchen, but. So, yeah, that's one part we're hoping will, so. Maybe take care of, but we'll see.
This is not a past practice question, but historically, how have we made decisions about where surpluses or where that money sort of goes? Has that been like?
That's what I'm getting at, is we don't have the ability to do that.
It's
Like
all-
that surplus in food service stays in food service. We
Yeah.
cannot move it to a different area. And it can only be used for certain things. And that's what I'm saying. They've become more flexible where they now allow us to buy lunch tables, but we were talking to Amy about, it would be nice to have a sound system in the lunchroom because we have a speaker that we bring in there to use. Can't use it for that. Even though it's in the lunchroom and we would use it for lunch, you can't use it for that. So it's very restrictive, and like she said, the health inspector came in and said we have to add a sink in a serving area.
Yeah.
Well. It would seem logical that you could use the food service money for that, but you can't.
And is that also true with the last slide? So the
Yeah.
the state, all that state funding, it's earmarked, there's no ability to. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't, like, they do have an option to use it for, like, district staffing, but. You have to do like a whole time study and you have to provide all this data and documentation, so they make it very cumbersome, and you just, you know, like, it's not. worth it.
Possible, and it's worth.
Anyway. But we do have a nice fun balance there, hopefully, you know, we can do some good things, at least in the kitchen, and I think we had some discussions about maybe supplies and table.
Yeah, we're meeting on Thursday.
Yeah. Let's got a list already, so. Okay, so moving on to community ed, so it's moving along, okay, general community ed, you know, it's still got a decent fund balance, they're doing a lot of good programs, so it's moving along. Early childhood and preschool school readiness, you know, numbers are up this past year, and they're looking to go that way, so it's something we're gonna keep an eye on, because they are at this point kind of, you know, going the negative route, so we might need to, you know, depending on if that continues to pop up, some adjustments possibly, but hopefully not, because obviously we want to keep all those kiddos here, so we'll do what we can to keep those funds going. Adult basic ed has a nice fund balance as well, but it's kind of similar to food service, where it's very, very restrictive. It's actually a co-op program that's run by Ortona. So our funds kind of filter through them, so we're pretty restricted on with those funds as well. Debt service is kind of an in and out, it's just, we get levy money and state aid money, depending on what our principal and interest rate is for that year. So. We carry a little fund balance just in case something comes up, but that's obviously restricted as well. And then the scholarship fund too, as well, it's not just for that purpose, scholarships for seniors, so. That's that, but
And like,
overall, I think we're looking right now.
and like food service,
Yeah,
these are the people in the summer that some kids used to do. I got lunch, they come in to use
It's,
that.
that's called summer food service program, and the thing that's tricky with that. Is we would have to hire kitchen staff in order to be able to do that, and. I'm gonna be honest, our kitchen staff isn't interested in working in the summer.
But I know about during school, after, like, I take some sports team, but never used to go down to the bag.
Oh,
Is there something you could do?
No.
To use that money?
no, no,
That's
But
food
we-
for 'em.
we do have. Community groups that help support the backpack program and that, but that's not funded with the food service account.
Just trying to figure out what to do.
And I was in the same boat. Amy printed off a sheet for Luke and I, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, we were trying to be creative,
I
and
know.
it's. Yeah, But in all honesty, I think what will happen, I mean, and that's kind of the way things go. Is when enough schools have the same thing happening to them. Eventually. The groups that represent us, MREA, MSBA, MASA, those people start going to our legislators and say, hey. We're all in this boat. Let's address this. It might take 5 years, but. That's kind of how it works. I mean, it's the same with funding. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been. Talking about funding for years, and to have. Well, we only had it for 2 years, that, you know. The increase based on inflation, they already did away with it, but we at least got it for 2 years.
Yeah, I do think, well, I hope after. Everybody has their cycle this year with their new budgets, I think everybody's gonna be seeing things.
Yeah,
Next year, there'll be, that push will be starting.
when you start seeing over 20 schools in SOD, I think that the legislature. They're gonna have to wake up and do something different. When that many schools are in SOD, there's a problem with the funding for Minnesota schools.
Yeah. Other question?
Maybe my last question is, do you anticipate, are we at risk, of any of this funding that we've already received?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not guaranteed, it's not, okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, You know, like I mentioned, depending on when they adjourn. And we could think about. Very possible, I'm coming back on number two, which I, usually we don't move by budget till like January, February, March. Like if everything's all new to this year. They might be staying.
To keep that on a reduction by one policy with insurance.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Right, I mean, there's our option, there's some. I mean, it's really is like, I think the best way to go.
Would you add that reduction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We have a motion to approve the preliminary budget for 2025-2026. That's none.
Second.
Motion by Rebecca, second by Lloyd. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Discuss approved school board work session, June 25th at 4:00 p.m. 4 to 7, Mr. Littman? Is that
The
correct?
schedule's 4 to 9,
Oh, gotcha.
but there's also another event going on
Yes.
that night,
Yes.
so I've heard, so we're gonna try and end it early so we can. Attend the other event as well.
Gotcha.
It's not up to me, it's not up to me, but hope to be out of there before, the 9 o'clock time is scheduled from 4 to 9, we hope to be out of there in time to go to the retirement.
I won't leave early.
Motion by Lloyd, second by Bill. Yes, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, 7.4? Opposed, same sign? Motion carries. 7.5, approve MSBA Association dues and policy services renewal dues for 2025-2026.
Do you know how much they might?
Oh, and remember, we do get the policy services in addition to the. That's in. 5270.
And that does include the policy services.
Yes.
In that place.
And I recommend sticking with it with as many policy changes are that having access to those. I feel is very well worth it.
Perfect. Motion by Jim, second by Rebecca to approve 7.5. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 7.6 enrollment update.
I know that's really hard to see, but you know, overall, again, down. From where we were at the beginning of the year to where we were at the end of the year. And when you compare the end of the year this year, it's the end of the year last year, it's down. It's a frustrating pattern. But the good news, like I said, the good news is the early childhood. For the first time, we're gonna have an incoming kindergarten class that will be bigger than our graduating class. So that is a first, and that is a good thing. Overall. Any questions? And there's not a, I know Shane has started tracking whenever someone leaves too, and there's a variety of reasons. It's not, you know, a lot of kids move a lot more and, yeah.
7.8 Z report.
Policy.
Oh, sorry, 7.7 discuss policy updates.
Once the session finishes. I thought they were gonna wrap it up today, but I haven't heard anything yet. That they were done. But, I know they were in session today, correct? But. We have to wait for the session to be over to get the. Translation of what we need to do with policies, so, it's like I said, it's a process. We'll patiently wait to figure out what the new legislative updates mean as far as policy changes. Because it's not finalized.
They get to 7 a.m. For the special session
Oh,
to get stuff done,
to get it done.
otherwise they gotta come back to this item.
I'm not sure it'll happen. It's been a weird something.
Now 7.8 Z report.
And I didn't know how much, I did attend the graduation and this and that, but there is some stuff going around here, I guess, considering. I don't know if that's good for that, so.
We do have the summer academy here this summer, and they started today. That's why we have all of the.
There were probably 5 graduates. At the LC.
Seven point nine AD report.
Perfect, so, we ended a great year. Baseball and softball finished up their seasons. It was fun to watch the postseason run for our baseball team, just, it was fun to get past that first round. For the first time in a while, as the first round is single elimination, then you kind of get into the double elimination tournament, so. For our baseball team to then go and extend their season by an additional 4 games, it's a big deal. Additionally, for them to be a 10-win team is kind of another feather in their cap for a good season for them to, be very proud of it. On top of that, we're incredibly young, so I think it'll be fun to see how they do. Coach Kispert's done a great job with them. Just really proud of just that culture that they're building within the program, and it's enjoyable to watch the baseball field and watch the kids smile and have a good time. That's always a plus. Track is off to Alexandria. It's always fun to hear the kids talk about that, as it's one of those, defining trips of why they do trap, just that fun camaraderie event that they have as well. State track, we have 5 state track and field meet qualifiers. Olivia, Avery, Brady, Craig, and Pierce. They left today, so we had the send off today with a couple fire trucks in front of them as they headed up to St. Michael. And it'll be fun to see how they compete. I think Coach Swanson said that this was the largest number of qualifiers that we've ever sent to the state track meet. And it was the first time that we sent two people in the same event, as both Brady Staub and Craig Knutson are competing in discus on Wednesday, so it'll be a lot of fun. So the prelims are tomorrow, and then the finals for everybody, if they qualify, will be on Wednesday. So a lot of fun. We're finally able to set the homecoming date, believe it or not. That darn football schedule is finally set, so we're set for Friday, September 19th, as we take on Chatfield. Right, so it'll be a good one. On top of that, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been an awesome experience for me. Being the activities director here was one of the highlights I've had professionally, and working with everybody here, I've learned a ton. I've grown a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, and the best part about it is that everybody here has been here to support me and pick me up, and I really appreciate everybody for that. That being said, I can't think of a better person to be able to kind of toss the keys to and have him run with it, as As Brandon is, he's a great, great person, number one, but he's also very, very good at developing relationships with everybody in, all aspects of our school district here, so. Brandon, come on up,
Yeah.
say a little hi.
Well, transition.
Good to go.
Yeah, and obviously just leaning on Shane, Luke, Corey as well, give me advice, give me some things to learn on, so. To come into a situation like we had at Triton, we probably felt the same way when you came in, but just that support has really been something that's been impressive early on, so. Can't wait to get going, and like I said, Corey's giving me a lot of help over these last couple months and kind of the process and putting it all kind of together. We met today for 3 hours, so it's been really good. Can't wait to get rolling, so, thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
No,
Thanks,
thank
everybody.
Thank you, Corey, for your.
Good.
7.10 principal report.
It's been a busy month around the elementary, middle and high school, leading into a summer that we're gonna stay busy. The summer, we've got a few things, of course, we have our staffing onboarding, and I don't, my daughter's always asked, like, Dad, why do you have to go to work in the summer? What do you do? There's no kids there. Believe it or not, we do have a lot of stuff to do. Scheduling, I know I was working with Mrs. Reynolds today about some shared staff scheduling, so. We'll get our schedules for all pre-K through 12 going in the next week or so, finalized by the first day of school. We will send out some newsletters over the summer. I know Mr. Ludeman has them planned out on the calendar already. I think our first one will go out in July, maybe July 6th or something like that.
What is the 4th or 5th? 7th.
Oh, July 7th.
Yeah, the beginning part of July, and then 2 before, fall sports started kind of run. So if you target that first week of July and the first week of August, and then spot, we'll have some spotting reminders. As we approach our open house and workshop days as well. And in the coming months at the board meetings, we'll bring forward our handbooks to get approved. Targeted services at the elementary school will have 4 weeks of targeted services starting next week. It's 4 days a week for 2 weeks in June and then 2 weeks in July. Our district achievement team is represented from K through 12th grade. They'll be meeting here in June. Big part of what the district achievement team does is plan our professional development for next year. Those are the teachers saying this is what we want to work on during our PLC time. Zed credit recovery, Mr. Ludeman, you want to take that one? Yeah, obviously that's a program that we are a part of here at Triton, being a part of Zed, so students that are in a credit deficient place right now, they have opportunities to go over there. I believe it's 3 or 4 weeks. We utilize the program. The good news is few of our students need credit recovery because I think we're doing a pretty good job of making sure, and the students are doing a pretty good job too, of making sure they pass their courses, but that program started today, believe it or not, we had a few students go over there for that. District literacy plan was a report that was due, you may remember as read well by 3rd grade, that has changed to a district literacy plan. It's due on June 15th. I'm happy to announce that we are wrapped up and that'll be submitted sometime tomorrow, so it'll be a big check mark going into the summer. And also new administrative team, we anxiously await, and excited to join forces with Tanisha. She's moving in to the area right now, as we speak, moved in. Her first day will be July 1, and I'm guessing we'll be seeing her at the next board meeting, and I know Mrs. Johnson and myself are eagerly awaiting getting to know her better. Every interaction that we've had with her so far has been extremely positive. I think that she's going to be a great addition to our team, and with Luke, we're looking forward to the new administrative team. One piece I'll just say, you did a good job, Mr. Van. I think I'll take a slide, actually. One piece I wanted to add, Mr. Schlichten, he talked about a little bit about the policies at MSBA and the changes there. We're in a position where obviously we have to update the handbooks based upon policy. Okay, so the law will come through and MSBA interprets them, we interpret them for the handbooks, and then we approve. So it's maybe a later time in the summer with those items. All right, very fun month. This is the slide I assumed I was gonna start talking to. This is stuff I really get excited about.
Last time at the board meeting, I was telling you about some of the concerts that we we're gonna have, that I combined with, or we combined with some parent engagement stuff. Those were awesome Thursdays, if any of you were here in the building, we did 1:30 concert would take a little bit, and at 2 o'clock, we'd start a parent engagement. Couple pictures over here, this one down here is our 3rd grade zoo. And then up here, we had our market day, we also had our wax museum in a similar fashion, so we had a great percentage of our parents show up on those Thursdays, not only for the concert portion, but then they got to stick around for about 45 minutes to see what the project is. And we got positive feedback from the parents. I was nervous because we're switching from evening concerts to daytime concerts. But after we did them, there was a lot of positive feedback. I did sleep on the roof one day last month on it was a Thursday of the track meet. So I got up there after track meet. I know there's been some questions if I actually stayed up there all night. I did, it did rain. But the problem is I live so close to school that I walked home at about 6 o'clock and some of the elementary students saw me. So they didn't think I actually was fun to get down. Because the family right next door to me saw me throwing my pool at 6 a.m. So they thought I didn't do it. So I'm here to tell the board that I was up there. And then thank you to the team again for sponsoring. I swear, I was getting text from my wife and from Whitney at about 11 o'clock, but you can, you know, and so I'm not gonna lie to 400 students, so I stayed up there even through the rain. Yeah. The Air Sanity Day was a blast for all of our students. Thank you to the team again for sponsoring that, so none of our students have to pay out of pocket for that. I think I have one more slide. We did staff checkouts. This is something I picked up, working with Mr. Schlichting and Mr. Luderman, and part of the checkout, I asked the staff, please rank your overall experience at Triton Elementary this year. And the responses that I had, and 5 is the highest, and 1 would be the lowest. We did have one number 2, but that wasn't because of school, that was outside of school functions. We had 2 individuals that ranked it a 3, and both of them was more on, they had tough classrooms, some large behaviors in there. But I wanted to share with the school board that the vast majority of the staff rank it a 4 or 5. You all know teachers, to get a 5 from a teacher, there's always room for improvement, right? So 4 is basically like a 5 in my head, and 5 means they really had a great year. So I think the overall culture, that's a sign that it is going well. Like Mr. Schlichting was talking about, the organization and all that type of stuff. We've got a lot of great things, and I do believe that next year will be even better than this year. Benchmarking and data meetings with that local literacy lead, local literacy report. We've had good growth in our benchmarking, and all of our data meetings are showing that our kids are growing. The read app training have made a positive impact. I have one staff that I need to hire over the summer. It's a SLD, specific learning disability, special education teacher. In the consent agenda, Steve Ferguson retired, so that's what we're replacing there. And once again, I want to shout out custodians of transportation. Students were out of the building for about 20 minutes last Wednesday when Dave, Joe, Travis were already down there starting to get stuff out of classrooms. Even going because they had to have some rooms cleaned up for COVID fair starting today. And then the transportation throughout the year, I ride a lot of buses both in the morning and after school, and that's a really tough job for those bus drivers. It's a really important job. They've got all the kids like with and after school particularly. The morning the kids are pretty calm because it's early and they're still sleepy, but after school bus drivers, I know where the budget's at, but they do all deserve a raise. That's a tough job. So that's all I have.
The teacher checkouts that Shane was talking about at the middle school, our teachers did the same thing, they rated 1 through 5. Parents did that as well, and our average score was 4.3. So.
Might be better than Shane, huh?
Not quite.
So I was very, very pleased with that. It was a good year. Most of the comments on those teacher checkout forms was just the great staff to work with. So that camaraderie is there in the school. So it's like, yeah, good with the environment when you have people you can support and during those days. The picture you see there is the eighth grade class on their last day of middle school. Just want to give a shout out to the eighth grade. They did a great job during the recognition ceremony and it was fun to take the little history, trip down memory lane with Mr. Shifty of all the years that we've been doing this. It's a great ceremony. I'm a little biased because it's very important to me and I've been a part of it for a long time, but it was nice to hear so much positive feedback from other parents and community that were present that day. So I got multiple emails and in-person, thanks from different people about it. So it was a great event. Sixth grade took a trip to the state capitol in Fort Snelling. They had a great time. The sixth grade team went along with them. All went well. Apparently there was some air quality issues. They didn't get to be outside as much as they would have liked to have, but other than that, it was great. But I just like it now. The office won. We won. We got the opportunity to do the ice puzzle. So this is my girl. Mr. Luderman couldn't. He just couldn't. He was too busy. Yeah. But that was super fun. We did that and he was thrilled. Student. During the game time we had like great the product I get to use group. So very appreciative of that. So it was a great last week of school at the middle school.
Okay, from high school, first started on behalf of the administrative team. Didn't feel right without going through this meeting to recognize for 32 years of service. I tried to. I've thought about a variety of things to say, and I apologize for it every time we've been on a meeting this last month. I think I tried to recognize you in some way. I think most importantly is thinking back on working with thing. Hopefully you still have this telephone. When we need help because we all rely on his help for sure. For the person that the kids in mind with the decisions he was making and really a difference maker for not only the students, staff, but community, it's been interesting having conversations, especially with folks that have been tied to this community for a while. Saying, hey, Mr. Schlichting, he helped me through this, and going back 32 years, and you hear stories on every generation about that. You didn't. Thank you very much. Class of 2025, congratulations. Not only congratulations to the graduates, but to our staff. The graduation, it's hard to believe. It seems like a long time ago already, but just over a week or so. With graduation, it was the second year that we did graduation on a Friday night. All things considered with graduation, there are things that you step into as a principal you're worried about. With obviously parents and students and the technology. Are the microphones going to work? Are the students, when they read their speeches, are they going to be able to speak in a way where everybody can hear? There's been a little bit of a tradition of trying to sneak confetti poppers in at graduation, and this year's group, they did all that, but they did a great job. They waited until the very end, and it was synchronized. It was at the end, and it wasn't in previous years we've seen different types of confetti. It was nice and easy to clean up this year. So they did a wonderful job, and they've got a good group to work with. The testament to our students on staff now, but pre-12, they've done a great job with the class of 2025. Thank you very much. Just one piece, the end of the year, it's kind of fun to look at the data and see how you're doing. We talked about credit recovery a little bit. I know there's a lot going on up here, so I'll just start. And I think the best way to break it down is to show you 2024, 2025. So if you look at that, I'd see we have 2 semesters and we have 4 grades. So these are the number of students that failed the class in that grade, and the second one in parentheses are the total classes failed in that grade. Okay, that makes sense. So if you look at it for 9th grade, obviously you had 2 students and 2 classes, and then 4 for the totals of 5 and 6 for the whole year. And so if you look at that, there's some of you, you see the few that everybody graduated, so we're okay there. It was an area that we were able to be okay with. So if you look at the total for 2024, we need to remember, our student enrollment is down a little bit. Okay? But to have 17 total students and 20 for the year, you can go back and look at other years. Okay, so a year ago, we had 33 and 52, which wasn't an improvement. If you go back another year, we had 38 students and 56. You go back even 59 and 114, so you can see the totals by year there. Obviously, hard to pinpoint exactly why. But I would like to think the combination of a number of things we're doing instructionally, but most importantly, making sure our students are connected and belonging in our environment is making a difference. Attendance rate for the year, obviously, we want our students here as frequently as possible, and something we want to continue to improve over 2024, 25, 92.88%. Now, that number is misleading a little bit because on the Minnesota school report card and the data that you see there is different. That's overall attendance by percentage. The way that the Minnesota Department of Education they calculate it are the percentage of students attending 90% or more. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. So when you look at the school report card, it's not a direct average. So, want to update the board there? Any questions? I don't know. I think that might be everything. Thank you very much.
Seven eleven, superintendent's report.
Mentioned this earlier, yes, special session, I don't know if they've done that, but. Let's hope to do. It'll be interesting to see where that all turns out. Luke has been working on the survey. Would you like to update him at all on the survey?
Yeah, talked to a couple of folks on the board about it, for starters, school perceptions. And others and Amy and working through this, been extremely impressed with the work that they do. Survey, so, has been finalized and sent to printer today. In terms of timeline, want to get information out to our families within the next week, preparing them for this, so they're gonna receive an email. It'll be on social media and the papers as well, so the DCI and the Trend Times will get information in there, so people are prepared. School employees, if they live inside of the district, they will receive an email, plus a mailing. Our parents will also receive an email plus a mailing. If you are a community person, you will just receive the mailing, so, once you receive it, you'll have options. You can either do it electronically, you can scan the QR code, or if you have an email, you can do it that way. I believe the system of doing that is similar to when we did it in 2019. So just wanted to reiterate for the board, we don't have to make any formal decisions based upon the data that we receive. It's information, so we can plan to move forward. Any questions about school perceptions and sort of? Okay.
And lastly, I just want to say thank you. I feel blessed to have been here for my whole career. This is, yeah, I don't want to get all cheery, but, because that's not me, but it's hard to believe that 32 years have gone this fast. I've known a lot of you for a long time. I actually had a group of, my neighbor kids who were, they wanted to come over and use the pool. And I was talking to them and I said, you don't understand. I knew most of your parents, and I did. I mean, like, I knew your parents before you were born. I've known them longer than you realize. And, I've had relationships with people for 32 years here. It's not like, you guys are new to me. It's like, I tell the one, it's like, I remember when his mom was bringing him to preschool in West Concord. It's like, yeah, I've known you your whole lives. And I'm thankful to have been able to work with so many amazing people. I mean, yes, we've gone through rough times. I can remember a time when there was a board meeting in the gym that was pretty brutal. And Lloyd, you were on the board at that time. That was an interesting time and, but, you know, it seems like every year things have gotten better and I feel really good about where our district is at, and it is our district, and it's a collective work of a lot of people. And, I just thank you for, supporting me through my career here, because it's been a great one, and I'm thankful to have worked here. That's all I got.
I want to start out by saying thank you to you. We appreciate your 42 years. You will be missed by many.
Thank you.
Anything else? Otherwise, I would take a motion for adjournment. Motion by Jim, second by Dale to adjourn. School board work session is gonna be June 25th at 4 o'clock, and the next school board meeting on July 21st at 6 o'clock. Meeting adjourned.